FightSaga.com presents Real Boxing with legendary fight trainer Ronnie Shields.
Good evening, everybody. Happy Tuesday to all of you. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Real Boxing with legendary fight trainer, Mr. Ronnie Shields. Ronnie, how are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Doing great. Another day.
Oh, I tell you what, we saw that you were busy this past weekend. How was your trip to Las Vegas, Nevada?
It was really great, man. We had a good time. My wife and I, we, hung out for 2 days, and, then on Saturday night, we took the red eye back home.
Wow, yeah, didn't do any gambling there, did you?
Not at all.
Yeah, look at the size of your house and then look at the size of the casino. You're not going to win, guys. Best not to gamble, guys. Take in a show, take in a fight, take in the restaurants, but don't waste your money. Don't spend the kids' college money on the crap tables, guys. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our chat. Our brother H Money, thank you for joining us as usual. Mini Meal, thank you for always being a part of the show, my friend. Adebayo Samuel says hello, Ronnie. And brother Ernest, thank you so much for joining us once again. Another great show indeed. Well, I tell you what, we've got a lot to catch up with Coach Ronnie on this past weekend's festivities at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Coach, for my money, I love, and you know what? It's been a while since I've covered a fight at the MGM Grand, but there isn't a bad seat in the house. It almost feels like you're on top of the ring. In your mind, is that the best venue for prize fights?
That's one of the best venues I've ever been to, because as you said, every seat in the house is a good seat.
Yep, it feels like you're like on top of the ring, and it was made specifically for prize fights. They built it for Mike Tyson back in the day. Boy, that's going back, though, quite a ways. But I tell you what, let's catch up with Coach Ronnie on Canelo Alvarez becoming the undisputed super middleweight champion. And, Coach, you called it like you saw your crystal ball. A late round stoppage over Caleb Plant. And you saw that he was going to, frustrate Canelo. What were you thinking when you saw Caleb Plant, win several rounds in the first half of the fight?
Yeah, I mean, I thought his game plan was really good. It fit his style. His game plan was really good. He was moving both ways. He was trying to stay away from the left hook as much as possible to the body and to the head. And he was counterpunching really good. And, his only problem is that he didn't hurt. He couldn't hurt Canelo in any kind of way. And so that enabled Canelo in the later rounds to just walk through him. And he didn't have anything to fear, but I thought Caleb Plant, man, he fought a really, really good fight. He has nothing to be ashamed of. He fought good, and, he should be proud of himself that he did as well as he did, because nobody, gave him a chance to win anything, as well as rounds. And the first half of the fight, though, after about 6 rounds, I had him up like 4 rounds to 2. I thought he was doing really well. But then, as Canelo was getting stronger, Caleb was getting weaker. And that was the difference in the fight.
Yep. And something that Caleb Plant is, he's going to be having to live down for, quite a while, is that conversation he had with Canelo Alvarez in round 9.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on with that? I mean, he couldn't hurt him. At least make fun of his mother or something. Try to frustrate him even more. No, Instead, he's having a conversation, says, hey, you're pretty good. Am I pretty good? Canelo says, yeah. Plant says, this is a good fight right here. Canelo says, I like it. Plant says, I respect your skills. Canelo says, I know. Plant says, I'm pretty good for 21-0, huh? What the hell was the point of that, Coach? Obviously you didn't see that live, but
No.
on the replay, what do you make of that?
Well, I don't know, man. That's something different for me. I heard guys talk trash before, and telling them, if he'd have came up out and said in the 9th round, man, you ain't shit or something like that, I would expect that, but not to hold a conversation the way he did. That could be a psychological thing that he thought was going to work for him. I don't know.
Trying to get Canelo's approval?
I guess.
Gee, wow. Yeah, see, and Coach, and I'm sorry, but as long as I've been watching boxing, I don't think I've ever seen that before. Have you?
No, I've never seen it, but like they say in boxing, you're liable to see anything and everything. So does it surprise me? No, not at all.
Nothing surprises you in this sport.
I see people do a lot of crazy things. But look, that's probably where his move was. His move was there. So he tried to get Canelo to, maybe stop thinking so much or whatever, I don't know. That's something he can only explain, I guess.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is he was trying to remain relaxed. Because how important is that, Coach, for you to stay relaxed in a fight of that nature?
Well, the thing about it is, your nature has to already be relaxed. You just have to concentrate on your game plan. And, until the final bell rings, everything has to be about your game plan. And maybe, I don't know if he felt that he was winning or maybe, he felt he was losing and it was just a matter of time before he got knocked out. I don't know. That's something that he's going to have to explain, because I'm sure that's a question a lot of people are going to be asking him.
Well, Fight Hype caught up with Rolly Romero and Teofimo Lopez. They're very good friends. Caught up with them in the gym. And this is what Rolly Romero had to say about it. He said, quote, I'm sorry to say, but Caleb Plant, you're not going to win fights against a puncher throwing pity pat, barely touching somebody. I'm sorry to say that, but you got to hurt people. It's as simple as that. And Teofimo chimed in and said this, quote, to me, to be a champion, you've got to do what no one else is willing to do. And I don't think Caleb Plant displayed enough of that when he fought Canelo on Saturday. He fought with too much respect. It was way too much. And then Rolly said this, oh, man, he was scared. He fought scared. There's nothing else to it. He fought scared. End quote. Coach, are they right on the money?
Well, I don't think he fought scared. It takes a lot to step into that ring already. So I don't think he fought scared. I think he had a game plan. He stuck to his game plan as best as he possibly could. And again, like I stated before, after 8 rounds, if he wasn't up, he was going to be in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, after the 6th round, I had him up. Like 4-2. But, the first 6 rounds, that's just the beginning. You still have 6 more. So, and that didn't help him, because, he had no power, and he just didn't, he couldn't get any respect. And sometimes that hurts you a lot if a fighter don't respect you and he don't respect your punching power, because Canelo started walking through him then, But I think he had a good 8th round, and maybe he was too confident going into the 9th round. It's probably why, he started talking. But who knows? But I just know that he just didn't have enough pop to finish the fight.
Now, Coach, if Caleb Plant were your fighter and you saw him having a conversation with Canelo Alvarez, right? What would you have told him in the corner after that round?
Well, I'm not even sure the corner probably heard that. So I probably wouldn't have ever known that they was saying anything to each other. So I don't know. But if I would have heard something like that, I probably would have cursed him out. Said, what the hell are you doing? Don't get this man no confidence. Because that's what happens. You give a guy confidence when, you start trying to talk to him. Come on, man, you're in a fight. Unless you go say something, cursing him out about something, I can understand that. Try to get him pissed off to try to make him try to knock you out. But, he got knocked out anyway, so what's the difference?
Yep, and Canelo set it up brilliantly by landing the overhand left hook and followed it up with a brilliant right uppercut, creating that distance. And once again, making it very difficult for Caleb Plant to tie him up by pulling in his elbows, using brilliant technique. Rather than giving him something to grab hold of, boy, he just kept working. And then it was all over. And we saw the inexperience of Caleb Plant not taking the full 8 count, going down on one knee and staying down. Instead, he tried to bounce back up, and he was obviously on unsteady legs. Coach, should he have taken the 8 count? Would that have made a difference in this situation?
The 8 count probably wouldn't have done him any good because I think he was really hurt bad. But, the thing about it is that, it's a natural reaction for you to jump right back up. That's natural for a fighter to do that. You have to really be thinking to say, let me stay down. And, look, you can tell fighters this in the gym every day of the week. But, you have to understand that, as you're in this fight, you don't want to give up. You want to get up and you just want to get back to it. And that is a mistake. That is a mistake. But, sometimes, you could tell a fighter, hey man, you get knocked down, take the knee. Don't rush to get back up. We tell this to fighters all the time. But still it slips your mind because it's not a consistent thing that you want to keep telling a fighter because, you don't want him thinking, I'm gonna get dropped or I'm gonna get dropped or something, But, fighters have to think of that stuff on their own a lot of times, because they're the ones in the ring. They have to know, we don't know how hurt they are. So, and maybe he didn't really realize how hurt he really was. So he was trying to get up.
It's a very good point. He's never been in that situation.
Right, yeah, absolutely. So, and it's not something you could practice, You can't practice that, because it's a difference getting hit and get dropped than somebody throwing a punch at you and you just going down and say, okay, what I'm going to do is act like I got hit with that shot and then take an 8 count and get up. But you didn't get hit.
Yeah, who the hell wants to practice that in the gym?
Nobody. That's something that fighters have to think about. That's one of the things that you have to think about. If the referee's going to call, if he's going to call a knockdown, take that knee. When you get to 8, then you got to stand up.
Yeah, you know what? That's a very invaluable lesson that, most don't think about, especially when they're brimming with confidence, like Caleb Plant. Just ask Zab Judah in his fight with Coach Yazoo. He gets knocked down, he bounces back up, and he's falling all over the place.
Yeah,
yep,
absolutely. Because when you get knocked down like that, your equilibrium is way off.
Yep.
So you got to give it a chance to catch up. So that's why I say it's best to take that knee. But look, when you're in a high profile fight like that, or with any fight, sometimes in your mind, all you thinking about, I got to get up. You're not thinking about, okay, let me relax a little bit. I got 8 seconds before I have to get up. And sometimes you just don't think like that. You want to just hurry up and get up and get back to it.
Yep. And Coach, sometimes your mind is okay, but your body just isn't responding. You talk about that, sir. Expound on that, please, as a prize fighter.
Well, as a prize fighter, sometimes you get hit maybe on the ear, you get hit on the temple or just the top of the head. And man, it takes away everything. I mean, it takes away your legs, is what it does. And then your head starts spinning, and then you're not right. And it's hard. I mean, it's a tough situation because sometimes if you're in great condition, it don't affect you as much, because this is why they give you the 8 count, to make sure that you're okay. But if I see people like, as you said, with Zab Judah, when he got hit by Kasazu, he didn't give his body enough time to catch up to the head. And he got up so fast that, he was all over the place. And that happens, it happens. But, the most important thing is, you have to be thinking at all times. And again, when you're in the heat of the moment, though, you're not thinking about that. You're thinking about, oh man, I'm not giving up. I want to get back up and I want to keep fighting.
Indeed. Want to give a shout out to our brother Chicano Prophet. Thank you for always tuning in. Also, shout out to my brother from Philly, Mr. Joseph Bergman. He says Plant was in moral victory mode at that point, referring to having the pleasant conversation with Canelo Alvarez during the fight. I want to thank Bloody Knuckles for also joining in, listening to the show. Thank you for joining us. He said, Coach Ronnie, I know you can teach technique, but can you teach toughness? You know what? We're going to get into that. We're going to address that because, your assistant trainer, Mr. Dominic Gwynn, has been in the media talking about just that. We'll address that a little bit later on in the show, Bloody Knuckles. I promise you. Minnie Mill says, think Plant was proud of his better than expected work. He was just caught in the emotion of the fight. Props to Plant for doing better than expected. Yes, unexpected to a lot of people, but not to Coach Ronnie. He called it last Tuesday. Kudos to you. And that's why we tune in, Coach. Want to learn from the master. So Minnie Mill says, what's next for Canelo, the undisputed champ? Now it's interesting, Coach, because they've already created a betting line. Well, before we start talking about that, I want to give a shout out to the other big winners on the pay-per-view portion of the fight card. Anthony Durrell, the dog, gets the big KO4 over Marcos Hernandez, delivering a knockout of the year candidate by way of uppercut. Boy, it was vicious. Also, congratulations to Ray Vargas getting the UD10 over Leonardo Baez. And congratulations to Elvis Rodriguez getting back in the win column, getting the TKO7 over the very game and formerly undefeated Juan Pablo Romero. Coach Andre Durrell, and it's funny, he said this, you know what? It's Canelo or retirement. Hopefully I can get Canelo, the big head honcho. I think everyone wants him. Everyone wants to dethrone him. Hopefully I made a big enough statement to get him, end quote. Well, according to the latest betting line, now, man, they're going to create a betting line for everything. According to mybookie.com, they've made a betting line on who Canelo's going to choose as his next opponent in Cinco de Mayo of 2022. Right now, the leading candidate is David Benavidez at plus 125, then Gennady Golovkin at plus 200, then Jermall Charlo at plus 400, and then they have listed Joe Smith Jr., Dimitri Bivol, Demetrius Andrade, Arthur Beterbiev, but no Anthony Durrell. Coach, your thoughts on What's next for Canelo Alvarez?
Well, I mean, I don't know, to tell you the truth, because he wants to move up to light heavyweight to try to do the same thing he did at at super middleweight. So who knows? I mean, he said either Benavidez or Jermall Charlo was definitely next. So so we definitely have to see. It's a wait and see thing, because we don't know his head. We don't know what he's thinking. We don't know anything about what he wants to do right now. Look, he wants to keep making history in the sport, and I understand that. But he still got some unfinished business.
Yep. Well, Coach, and it's funny. A lot of people suspect that, and a lot of people want him to move up to 175. I just don't see it. Right now, he and Eddie Reynoso have stated that, boy, he's in his prime weight at 168 pounds. Obviously, that's where he feels the most comfortable. He's no longer fighting in spurts and taking some time off in between offensive outputs. He's actually working at a more steady pace at 168 pounds. This is where he feels most comfortable. Guys, do not. And once again, if you want to fight Canelo, he's not going to move down to 160 or 175. He's going to stay at 168. It's up to everyone else to cater to him. And that's just the way it goes when you're the man of boxing. When you're the biggest ticket seller in boxing, that's just the way it goes. Jermall Charlo, obviously he was there. Coach, I have to ask you, what was the deal with Jarrett Hurd? What happened there?
Well, I was sitting a couple of rows behind Jermall, and I saw him get up, and I saw him go talk to Jarrett Hurd. And at first, him and Jermall was really just talking, and then I saw them hug, and then all of a sudden, then I seen Jermall go over there.
Uh-oh.
And all of a sudden, I saw swinging going on. And then I saw security come over and took the twins out, and they let Jarrett Hurd sit. But then they went and got Jarrett Hurd, I think put him in another office, let the twins come back in, then they brought Jarrett Hurd back up.
Okay.
Then, then I got a call from Jermall, and I asked him what happened. And, and he told me, he said, man, I was just talking with Jarrett Hurd and Andre Berto, and, then all of a sudden Mel came over, and I don't know what happened, but he said Jarrett Hurd ended up trying to slap Jermall. And he said Jermall said something about his wife.
What?
I don't know. That's what that's what I heard. So I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but I just know that. And after everything happened, when everybody went back to their seats, Jermall got back up and went back over and talked to Jarrett Hurd, and I saw them hug each other, and then they both went back to their seats.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you know what? If you say something about someone's wife, listos pa los chingazos. Listos pa los chingazos. You better be ready. Oh, it's coming. But yeah, so, Coach, what is the prospect of Minute Maid Park, Cinco de Mayo weekend, Jermall Charlo versus Canelo Alvarez in Houston, Texas?
Oh, that'd be huge, man. That'd be unbelievable. That'd be great.
Minute Maid Park, and Canelo's fought there before. He's had a very good turnout, and once again, Jermall is a big ticket seller in Houston, Texas, as we just saw in his last event. Coach, how difficult, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on in the show when we talk about David Benavidez and his fight coming up this Saturday night. He's going to be back in his old hometown of Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah.
How difficult is it, though, at times to fight in your hometown?
Well, look, it's not difficult to fight at home. I mean, that's where you're supposed to be at your best when you fight at home because, you have a crowd behind you that is going to be on your side. So, and that's the majority of the time that happens. So, I mean, I think you train harder. I think you do everything better, and, and I don't know if everybody wants to give you that advantage. So we'll have to wait and see on certain things.
Well, the reason why I'm asking, Coach, is because some fighters, one that comes to mind is Sergio Mora. He said he hated fighting in LA because everyone would be hitting him up for tickets, and it was all kinds of distractions.
Right. Look, you have distractions. I don't care where you fight at. You're gonna have distractions. And being at home, of course, people are gonna be trying to call you, text you and all this kind of stuff. But you just turn your phone off, or let one of your assistants handle that for you. Look, it's no excuses when you fight at home. If you feel you're distracted, then then you got to do things that that makes you concentrate on only what you're there for, and that's to fight. And so you can't worry about distractions. Give your phone up. Let somebody else do that for you.
Yep. So I tell you what, there it is, guys. Canelo Alvarez is your big winner this past Saturday night, becomes the undisputed super middleweight champion. Now, Coach, do you think he relinquishes all of the titles, leaves them up for grabs and to be fought and competed for, and just keeps the ring? Because I don't think he's interested in defending any of those titles against mandatories. Your thoughts on that, and is that the course of action he should take?
Well, I think he's not interested in defending against mandatories.
Yep.
I think before he do that, he would definitely fight either David Benavidez or Jermall Charlo.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think he will move up to 175. Because, I mean, in his position, at his age, he's not into just taking a fight just to be taking a fight. It's about his legacy now. And so he only want to fight big fights.
Yep.
And this is why, he got Triple G, he got Beaver, he got Joe Smith, he got all of those guys that's gonna keep him busy for the next couple of years if he can stay undefeated. And that's gonna be a big thing because everybody that I just named has the capability to beat him. So, it takes a lot for a guy to just keep fighting hard fight after hard fight after hard fight. And, and for him to just say, I'm going to just defend I got this mandatory over here that I got to defend. No, I can't see that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Coach. I can't see it either. I want to give a shout out to our brother Chocolate Bacon. Thank you for joining us once again. The greatest to ever live, Canelo. Well, we'll see. Pump your brakes there, brother. We'll see. We'll see. He is definitely a future Hall of Famer, though, already. Minnie Mills says this, Coach Ronnie, Charlo ready for Cinco de Mayo weekend, Canelo Showdown. Do you have an update for us in terms of the future of Jermall Charlo?
No, not yet. Not yet. We're still waiting to hear, to hear something. So, I guess Showtime should be putting out their dates for next year pretty soon. So we'll just have to see.
Well, Benny Mills also says Mike Tyson keeps calling the Charlo brothers the Cholo brothers. Well, keep on fighting like that, man. Guys like Jarrett Hurd, yeah, you'll earn that distinction. Yeah. Oh, I got to give a shout out to my brother Ryan Singleton from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. What's up, Joseph and Coach Ronnie? What's up, brother? Thank you for joining us. Yeah. Yeah. Here, once again, Coach, Chocolate Bacon says, ask Ronnie of David Stevens' status.
David is going to fight here in Houston on December the 4th.
And there it is. I'm going to make a trip before my surgery to go up, and I'll be in attendance. Thank you very much.
Right.
I'll bring a camera crew with me so I can get plenty of interviews with everyone. Thank you very much, guys. And Rhino, he asked, do you guys think Triple G is even an interesting fight at this point? Because there have been a lot of chatter about Triple G and an eventual and a very long overdue trilogy happening Cinco de Mayo weekend on DAZN. If Eddie Hearn has his druthers, yeah, that's the fight that he wants. Coach, is anyone still interested in that, in your opinion?
You know what? I don't think so, man, because nobody's trained from Triple G. Nobody's talking about Triple G. So, you know, I don't think Canelo is interested in that either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think he's saying, you know, why? You know, we fought twice already. You know, we had a draw and I beat you. So, third fight for what? You know, I mean, I just don't see it. You know, I just don't see it. But of course, I can be wrong. But I just don't think Canelo is interested in a Triple G fight.
Yep. Well, let's go back to our brother Bloody Knuckles. He asked Coach Ronnie, I know you can teach technique, but can you teach toughness? Well, we caught up with Ronnie's assistant trainer, Dominic Gwynn, former heavyweight contender. And he said this, quote, I feel like if he does come to Houston, Anthony Joshua, that's going to give him another boost when he steps in the ring, to step out of his own and come somewhere else and somewhere where he's uncomfortable. And he's going to come here and he's going to get real uncomfortable, and we're just going to bring the dog out of him. He's going to be around other lions and killers just like himself. It's a professional world and a professional ring, and you get into every day. If he ends up in Houston, I can guarantee you'll probably see the best Anthony Joshua you've ever seen before. End quote. Coach Ronnie, do you have anything to add to that, sir?
Yeah, you know, but look, here's the thing. You know, guys fight with their heart. You know, if you got a big heart, then you're tough as hell.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And the thing about it, that's something you can't teach. You can't teach somebody to be tough. You know, you can teach technique, you can teach everything else, but you can't teach toughness. Toughness has to already be there. You know, I can't teach a guy to be something that he's not. You know, he has to be that already. And I see that in so many guys, though. I mean, I do. I see it in a lot of fighters. And, you know, and sometimes it just takes certain technique to bring it out of them. And we could bring it out of them, but they definitely have to already have it.
You know, Coach, and I think rather than phrasing it as teaching toughness, one thing that you can do with Anthony Joshua, one thing that you're going to do, okay, if he does reside in Houston for 3 months, you're going to make him more comfortable at things that he's not used to doing. And that can often be interpreted as toughness, right? And so that's the key. Things that he's not comfortable doing, well, you're going to make him very comfortable doing it from all of that hard work in the gym. Coach, yeah, that's the plan, right? I mean, obviously you want to, and Anthony Joshua stressed this when he met with you. He wants to become a more mentally tough, aggressive assassin in the ring, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
So, Coach, we look forward to possibly a second meeting. Is he going to come back to America anytime soon? Did you have any words with Eddie Hearn talking about that?
Yes, I did have a couple words with Eddie Hearn, and he just told me that he said Anthony will be back in the States in a few weeks. So we'll see what happens.
And there it is, guys. Stay tuned for more updates regarding the status of Anthony Joshua and his search for an American trainer. one that can add that new wrinkle to his fight game. Ronnie Shields. We'll wait and see what happens, guys. But stay tuned every Tuesday, right? Mr. Minnie Mill, before we move on to other news, we'll take a couple more comments. Minnie Mill says, don't like Canelo at 175. He's too small for the light heavyweight division. And to some point, 168, short guy. Charlo and David B is unfinished business. Do you agree with that, Coach?
I don't agree he's too small. I mean, you don't put a guy's height into the equation. What you put is his skill, and that's probably the only thing that matters for a guy like Canelo, because he's a very skilled fighter. And he proved that when he did go up to 175 before and gave the title up and went back down. So I wouldn't say his size, because his skill is just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So this goes, listen to this. Our brother Adebayo Samuel says, I don't think Canelo will give the hitman Jermall Charlo an opportunity because he knows it's dangerous for him. He'll better give Benavidez an opportunity than Charlo. I don't think Canelo avoids any smoke. And I think he's already proven that, which is one of the reasons why he's in the position he's at. Coach, do you have anything to add to that? As far as the toughness and the willingness to fight any and all opposition?
No, I think he's ready to fight anybody. But here's the thing. Styles make fights. And this is why I think people say that Jermall probably will be a little bit tougher because of his style. And this is why people don't think that, he's going to avoid fighting, him. So, I mean, I just don't think that he's avoiding anybody at this point of his career, because, he's at the top of his game right now. So anybody that fight him, if you're not at the top of your game, it's going to be a difficult fight for you. So, and, I don't know. I don't think he avoids anybody. Now, whether he chooses Jermall or David Benavidez, look, both guys are tough fights for him because of their style. So it's neither guy's easy fight for him. So, and he knows this, but, I think he gears himself up to be ready for any challenge, whether he fights at 168 again or go up to 175.
Indeed. And Minnie Mill adds this, Coach. Ronnie, are you ready to train AJ and your fellow Texas boy, Vergil Ortiz Jr.? Well, and that's going to be our next topic. Coach, did you hear the news? Vergil Ortiz Jr. left once again another trainer, Mr. Robert Garcia. And it's already been verified by Robert Garcia that he left him. And for the simple reason that he wasn't in his corner to face Igas Kavalyaskis, his toughest test to date. Instead, he chose to be in Oklahoma that evening in Josh Franco's corner. Did you agree? Did you see that possibly being a problem for Robert Garcia and Vergil Ortiz?
Yeah, sometimes trainers are put in very difficult positions when you have good fighters, and you have them fighting on the same night or the same weekend. It presents a problem. You have to choose. And I read what Robert said, that he thought that Vergil was going to be okay, that he didn't really need him as much as the other guy really needed him. But it's a hard decision because, do you go with your guy who about to break out at welterweight, or do you go with somebody else and, that could be on a breakout, So, I mean, look, it's a tough decision both ways. So, I mean, I don't know what decision I would have made. I can't say because, I wasn't with either one of them. But it's sometimes trainers are put in very difficult positions. But again, this is why you have assistants that work with you
Mm-hmm.
side by side.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess Robert felt comfortable that Vergil's father was there with him because his father has been there his whole career. So nobody knows him better than his
Mm-hmm.
father. So, and I think Robert felt comfortable that his father is capable of handling his son and teaching him all the way through, to a win. And sometimes it happens, though. I mean, it's one of those things that trainers put in a very difficult position, and every fighter wants their head trainer there all the time. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes things happen, and you can't be there. So, I'm sorry that it happened between them two, because I think Robert Garcia is one of the best trainers in the sport right now,
Yep.
and I think he's done wonders for Vergil. You know, but ultimately it's up to the fighter on moving forward. It's up to the fighter. He wants him there the whole time, and sometimes it don't happen though.
This seems to be a trend with Vergil Ortiz. And once again, this is just the journalist part of me looking at this, right?
Right.
Because he was with Joel Diaz, an excellent trainer and a very good guy, right? He left him several years ago for Robert Garcia. Now he's leaving Robert Garcia. Coach, why do some fighters feel the need to change trainers every couple of years? Have you ever understood that logic?
No, I personally never understood that because if you get comfortable with one guy and your career is going in the right direction, you know, changing don't always put you on another path up. Sometimes it puts you on another path downwards.
Mm,
So, you know, but again, the final decision is always up to the fighter on what he feels he needs. Maybe he felt he was missing something. Maybe, they outgrew each other. It happens. It happens in this sport. But I mean, I don't know. It's a hard thing sometimes when you put all your work and time into a fighter, then all of a sudden, you know, something happens, and you can't fight without him. You think you need him, and obviously Robert didn't think that that he really needed to be with him. He felt the other guy, he needed to be with the other guy more. Because maybe he thought the other guy had a tougher fight, and that that could really help. Sometimes when you have a stablemate, that helps everybody. When
yep.
everybody wins, it does. It helps everybody. But sometimes guys just don't feel that. They feel they want it to be all about them, and sometimes it can't always be all about you. It is about you on fight night, but you know, if the other trainer is with you all the time, he knows the game plan. You're very confident. Sometimes you have to be more confident in just one guy. You have to be confident in other guys too, because things happen sometimes, and obviously it happened in this case. And look, it's happened to me before. I've had guys fighting on the same on the same night. Sometimes you have to split. You know, and guys just have to understand that. But I guess when you get to a certain position, guys want you there all the time. And if you can't be there, then they make the change.
Indeed, Coach. And to support Robert Garcia's logic, Josh Franco was indeed the underdog going into his fight. And Vergil Ortiz was indeed the favorite. And it was a Golden Boy fight card. All the Golden Boy brass, they were there at Frisco, Texas that night. And no one was with Josh Franco. So it's hard to argue. In retrospect, it's hard to argue with Robert Garcia's logic and his decision. No, Paul Boxianos, thank you for joining us, brother. Salute to you, my friend. He says Robert Garcia has too many fighters in his stable. He's like the Walmart of trainers, I feel. Guys, honestly, Robert Garcia is an excellent trainer, and he's surrounded by very good young trainers, also like Hector Tanahara Sr. And his son, as well as the big G, Eduardo Garcia, right? Yeah, I'll say that. And speaking of which, how is it coming along with Dominic Gwynn learning as your understudy coach? Because we saw that happen. The same thing happened. The scenario that you were talking about with the late great Emmanuel Stewart. And a lot of times Sugar Hill would actually be in fighters' corners like Jonathan Banks, who's now a trainer as well. So how is Dominic Gwynn coming along as your understudy, sir?
He's coming along great. Dominic, he's just learning, how to deal with fighters' attitudes and how to deal with fighters personally. Look,
that's never easy.
It's never easy, but I have to always tell him, put yourself in that position. What would you do? How would you think? You got to remember, you was a fighter, so you did certain things that maybe the trainer didn't like, and you got to respect that. So sometimes you have to just put yourself back in that position to understand. But I remember when we had a fight. It was during the pandemic, and I had Justin Paldo fighting in California. So I went with Justin. Dominic stayed back with Jermall and a few of the other guys. But then Justin Paldo's opponent tested positive for COVID. So they left Justin there in California and put him on a card the following week. And I couldn't be there with Justin. So I flew home and Dominic flew to California. And he worked with Justin, and Justin had a very good fight and won and looked really good doing it. So this is the thing that happens. Sometimes, you can be there, sometimes you can't. But you got to have somebody that the fighter is comfortable with and who's capable of handling everything just like you was there. So, but this is why, you train in the gym. You don't just train with one guy, you train with everybody. You train with all of the trainers that's in the gym. That's what I work with my guys on, make them do the pass with them, so they can get comfortable, and that's how you do it. And if a guy's not comfortable, I sit down, talk to him, and tell me why you're not comfortable with this person, and we have to fix it, because sometimes I'm gonna be there, sometimes I'm not.
And there it is, guys. And one thing that Emmanuel used to express to me, and this is one of the reasons why he really leaned on guys like James Ali Bashir and Sugar Hill, is because he trusted them to do things the exact same way. Coach, how difficult is it to get one of your assistants to do everything the exact same way?
It's not difficult, especially when your assistant was a fighter and you worked with him. So he knows your system already. So it shouldn't be hard if you already know what the system is. Now, I can understand if I'd have chosen another guy from, that was used to doing another system, then I have to sit down and really explain to him how this works and how I work and how my system goes. But when you got a guy that grew up in your system, then, it makes it a lot easier.
And there it is, guys. Well, it's time. We're running out of time, so we're going to have to jump now to the latest edition of Fact or Fiction. Are you ready, Coach Ronnie?
Let's do this.
Number one, Canelo Alvarez will face Triple G in a long overdue trilogy match on Cinco de Mayo weekend 2022. Fact or Fiction, Coach?
Fiction. I don't see it happening. You know what? I mean, Canelo haven't called this guy's name in over a year. So I think Canelo has moved on. You know, he don't think, you know, it deserves a trilogy. So I think he's moved on from that.
Yep. Well, you know what? For our sake, let's hope he has. Ching Gao, does anyone want to see Triple G get his rear end handed to him at age 40? Because that's how old he's going to be when they finally fight, if they do. No one wants to see that, guys. Number 2, fact or fiction, coach. David Benavidez will have difficulty and go the distance this weekend with Kyron Davis. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to say fiction. And the reason I'm going to say this, you know, I've been watching Kyron Davis for a little while now. He's not a big guy. You know, he's a young guy. He has a lot of heart, but sometimes your heart gets you in trouble. I think, you know, David Benavidez, excuse me, I think David Benavidez is going to fight him the same way he fought Ellis his last fight. You know, he's going to just be ripping combinations and you know, and I just don't think Kyron Davis is strong enough to, you know, to make him respect him. So I don't think it's going to be a very tough fight for David Benavidez.
And there you have it. Number 3, coach. Fact or fiction? At $69.99, Crawford versus Porter will fail to breach the 300,000 pay-per-view sales mark. Fact or fiction?
I think that's fiction also, because here's the thing. This is a great fight. You know, this is
Indeed
2 of the best welterweights in the division. And, you know, they both got a lot of experience, amateur and professional. And they both have been world champion, you know, and Terence Crawford still is a world champion. And the style of Sean Porter is perfect for a tough fight for a guy like Terence Crawford. So people want to see that. So I think people are really going to go out and buy this fight.
Well, let's hope so, guys. Once again, it's $69.99 on ESPN Plus, and it's happening in about a week and a half. Can't wait to see it. Number 4, coach. Fact or fiction? Janibek Kazakh-style Alim Kanuli will be the next middleweight kingpin by 2023. Fact or fiction?
Oh, that could be a fact. That could be a fact.
Yeah,
How much
that's
have to
it.
say about that one?
Well, to be honest with you, do you see Jermall still fighting and competing, defending his title at 160 by 2023?
Absolutely not.
Yep, and there it is. Honestly, I don't see any of the current title holders still competing at 160 by 2023.
No. By 2023, I expect Errol Spence to be at 154 pounds at least. I expect Jermall Charlo to be at least a middleweight. And I expect Jermall to be at least a super middleweight or a light heavyweight.
Wow. That's something to look forward to. Number 5, coach. Fact or fiction? Joe Calzaghe would defeat Canelo Alvarez in a mythical prime for prime matchup at 168 pounds. Fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Wow.
I like Joe Calzaghe. He was a good fighter, but I don't see him being Canelo Alvarez at 168.
Why do you think so, coach?
I don't know. I just think Canelo is too smart. Canelo's too smart, strong, and Canelo would definitely dig him in the body like he's never felt before.
Yeah, and Joe Calzaghe could be a little too reckless at times.
Absolutely.
He's going to give, Canelo Alvarez plenty of targets, right?
Yes.
Because he lets his hands go a little too frequently at times. So, yeah, good call, coach. Number 6, Canelo versus Plant, the event, will fail to breach the 600,000 pay-per-view sales mark for Showtime Sports. Fact or fiction?
I think that's fiction. I mean, everybody has been talking about this fight. So, I think it's going to do really well. I think it did really well. I think a lot of people, fans that couldn't go, wanted to go, but just couldn't go. I think they pulled their money together and they bought the fight.
Well, Dana White was watching
well.
it. Dana White was watching it while his event was going on.
See? Everybody was interested. So.
And there you have it. Number 7, Coach. Fact or fiction? Demetrius Andrade will eventually retire without a career-defining fight against any of the top 60 or 68-pound fighters. Fact or fiction?
I think that's a fact. I think he could be a likable guy, but I don't know. Some ways he thinks he's tough. He thinks he's too smart. He thinks he's smarter than everybody else. And, he just got to humble himself. I think if he humbled himself, people will fight him. But I just don't see it.
Yeah, you know what? And Demetrius is a terribly nice guy and one of the funniest guys that you'll ever meet. But a lot like Caleb Plant, for some reason, they come off as, well, pardon my French, kind of assholes. They're very defensive. Like, it's shocking, actually, where it's not a good look. And guys, keep in mind, and Ronnie, please expound on this. Even though they're fighters and they're facing each other, you guys have to be business partners at the end of the day, right?
Absolutely, man. Some guys you can talk to. You talk mess after the contract is signed. You don't talk mess before. You get the contract signed. You get to the press conferences, and all the talking, you can do whatever you want to do then. Now you got to fight already. But some guys, they talk like they really want to fight but don't want to fight. So they talk too much to try to not to get the fight. And in Demetrius' case, I don't know if that's really the case with him, but but that's the way he talks. He talks too much. And sometimes you have to be quiet and get the contract signed. Then you do all the talking you want to talk.
And there it is. Business advice from the master. Very insightful, Coach. Fact or fiction number 8. Jermall Charlo will defend his WBC title against Jarrett Hurd in January. Fact or fiction?
I think that's fiction.
Yep. Take care of Luis Arias first, brother. Number 9. Go ahead, sir.
Lewis is fighting at 154, I believe.
Wow, that's all I have to say about that. Boy, Jarrett looked terrible against Luis Arias.
Yeah, he did.
Yep. Take care of that first, Jarrett. Number 9, Coach. Fact or fiction? Derek Chisora will lose another close decision to Joseph Parker in December. Fact or fiction, Coach?
Yeah, that could be a fact. Because Joseph Parker, man, he's been around. He's a smart guy. And, he seemed to eke out the guys that's not really the big guys, the big guys at the top.
Former WBO champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And, he finds a way. He always seems to find a way against guys that's not world champion already. So I'm gonna say that's a fact that Joseph Parker is going to eke this one out.
Well, let me get your thoughts on this because they just had a press conference today, right?
Okay.
To try and promote that fight in the UK. And Derek Chisora said this, virtually spoiling the press conference as usual, right? Can you imagine Derek Chisora saying something off the cuff? Jeez. So he said, so he said this, quote, "So many fights have been robbed. I was robbed in Helsinki against Robert Helenius. I was robbed in the first one here in Manchester against Dillian White. I'm happy the rematch is on, but I'm saying this to you, Eddie Hearn. I need you to get a good referee, an American referee preferable, not a British Board of Control referee, because those guys in the past have messed me around. If Robert Smith is listening, I do not want you to ref for this fight. So that's it. I know for a fact on December 18th, we're going to have a war. Joseph Parker, he don't scare me. He doesn't have anything I'm afraid of. I don't know how they gave him the last fight, to be honest with you, 100%. I stand by what I watched when I watched the last fight. I was the more pressure fighter. I was making the fight happen. All he wanted to do was hold the entire fight. That's what they do, which is good for them. All I'm saying is, Eddie, if I have to pay somebody, one of the judges, please tell me which account I have to send the money to. Who do I have to pay? End quote. Eddie Hearn said this.
Wow.
Eddie Hearn said this, quote, just to confirm, that won't be happening, paying off the judges. End quote. Coach, now if one of your fighters said something that absurd and you're laughing because you can picture that.
Oh, my God.
What excuse me. What would you say to one of your fighters if he let that fly during a major press conference with all the media in attendance?
I probably would put a bag over my head then. Because I wouldn't want to be a part of that conversation. You know, look, the thing about it is, man, you know, if the fighter's in England, then the British board is gonna appoint the judges and the referee.
Yep.
You know, look, a lot of referees are good referees.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can only do what they see. You know, if you're holding, if you commit a foul, if they see it, they got to call it. So I don't understand why he's so messed up on certain referees. I mean, you know, we have referees that miss stuff here too. So,
yep.
You know, I mean, a referee is only human. You
Yep.
know? Sometimes he's not always in the right position to see certain punches. And it happens all the time. Sometimes it works for you. Sometimes it works against him. You know? So it's like a crapshoot, you know? It's like a crapshoot. You got to just hope that, you know, that the referee sees everything. And he doesn't. He's a human being. Sometimes he's out of position and he can't see everything, you know? And smart guys know what the referee can see and what the referee can't see. But this is why you have judges.
Yep.
You got to remember that. You have judges. If a judge sees a foul, he can deduct a point for something that he sees that the referee missed.
Those are the rules.
Yeah, that's the rules. So I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, just Derek being Derek, Coach. I still remember the he glassed me incident with David Hay. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that.
Coach, if someone actually broke a bottle over your fighter's head, what would you have done?
I hope it was another bottle there. Because I was broken up.
Geez. Well, I tell you what, that's Eddie Hearn's problem, not ours.
Absolutely.
Number 10, Coach, the last prediction for Fact or Fiction. Number 10, Coach, Errol Spence Jr. will lose a decision to the eventual winner of Crawford versus Porter in 2022. Fact or fiction?
I think that's fiction. You know, look.
Wow.
I mean, Errol's a good fighter, man. Errol is just a perfect fighter. You know, this guy, he works hard, you know, at his craft. You know, he's one of these guys, man, that he was born to be a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and certain styles give everybody problems, right?
Yep.
But still, you know, in order to be a great fighter, you have to adapt and overcome everything. And, you know, and Errol has already proven that. You know, he's proven that, look, I can get in a bad car accident and still beat one of the best fighters in the world, and then he goes, yeah, in my first fight back, you know?
Very good point.
That, you know, so, look, you know, good fighters know how to adapt, and the best fighters always do.
And there it is. And that concludes Fact or Fiction for this Tuesday night's episode Coach, do you have any parting shots for our listening audience?
Hey, just keep listening every Tuesday at 7 p.m.
And there it is, guys. Ronnie, want to thank you for once again being a part of Real Boxing with Coach Ronnie Shields. Guys, in case you missed any part of this program, it'll be available once we sign off in its entirety. But guys, on behalf of the legendary fight trainer, Coach Ronnie Shields, I'm Joseph Herron. You've been listening to Real Boxing with Ronnie Shields on War Week Radio Network. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.
FightSaga.com presents